Okay, Lamai, can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me? Okay, right. Today we are going to discuss the part B of our paper, right? Paper that we are discussing, grade 10, second term, Western Province paper, right? So then, let's discuss the essay part. Here the question number B, part B, question number 5, look at this one, right? So shall we discuss this one, right? Come quickly and come to the lesson with me, right? Your answer want to, I don't have the paper. Here is the paper that I shared to the last week, right? So the same paper, part 1 we have discussed in the last week, and today we are going to discuss the part B. Hari? Now I share it. Okay, I shared it. Right, okay. Come to the question. The question number, right? Question number 5, part B. Let's see the question, right? Your answer want to put to the, your answer, right? Please put your answer into the chat box, right? So part B, look at this one. Question number 5, right? Before discussing the question number 5, right? Shall we move the question number 6? It's a chemistry one, right? Most of the students are suffer from this part now. That's why I decided that. So read the question. Read the question. A rough diagram for the graph that denoting a first ionization energy of few consecutive elements belong in second and third period. The important points are given that what are they? It's the second and third periods of the periodic table is given below. Which periods? Second and third period. Okay. So define the first ionization energy, right? They say that define the first ionization energy, right? One පොඩ්ඩක් මේක app එක change කරගන්නවා. Right, look at this one. Right, a rough diagrams of the graph that denoting the first ionization energy of the few consecutive elements belong to the second and third periods periodic tables are given below. Very important. What is the periods that belong to the second and third period? Importance, right? What are the periods that belong that element? These are belong to the second and third period of the periodic table. So define the first ionization energy. So what do you think about what is the first ionization energy mean? The first ionization energy mean, what do we call, Lamai? Yes, your idea about that. What is the first ionization energy? Right? How do we define that? Student, please switch on your cameras. Right? Please switch on your cameras. So we can define that whether first ionization energy is, right? We call it as a, right? What is it? The minimum energy that should be supplied to an atom. Considered about here is there to the sodium. It's having which state? Gas state. And we provide the energy to the sodium. And think about that, right? When we provide the energy and after removing the 1 electrons of the valence shell, it becomes to the plus ion. It becomes to the plus ion. That is, we call it as a first ionization energy, right? The amount of energy that should be provided to this atom, right, to remove the electrons and form a unipositive gaseous ion. After removing the 1 electrons and then it becomes to the unipositive gaseous ion. That is, we call it as a. So we want to give the amount of energy for that, no? Right? We want to give the certain amount of energy, right? The energy, the minimum energy that we have provided for this purpose is we call it as a first ionization energy. Got it idea? We call it as a first ionization energy. So we can define that what is the first ionization energy. That means the definition, the minimum energy that should be supplied to an atom in the gaseous state to remove an electrons to form an unipositive gaseous ion. To form an unipositive gaseous ion. Here is the definition. If you have write these definitions, right? If you have written that definition, you can get the 2 mark for this. So what do you think about the first ionization energy values, right? When you go to the left to right in the periodic table, so if you are go to the left to right in the periodic table, so what happened to the first ionization energy value? The first ionization energy increases from left to right. Got it idea? First ionization energy values increases from left to right, decreases from top to bottom. Got it idea? Here there is a variations, right? You want to understand about that. The next question come here, right? Here is the answer. So what is the answer? The minimum energy that should be provided to an atoms to form a unipositive gaseous ion, right? The minimum energy that should be supplied to an atom in gaseous state to remove an electrons to form a unipositive gaseous ion. We call it as a first ionization energy. Actually, we want to provide the energy, right? So we want to provide the energy. So in sodium, right, when we consider sodium, right, so you know that they are each of the energy levels having electrons, no? Right, how many electrons having? In the first energy levels, 2 electrons. Here is the nucleus, right? In the second energy levels having 2 electrons. And the last energy levels having 1 electrons, right? So then we want to provide the energy to remove that electrons. The minimum energy that should be provided to remove that electrons, we call it as a first ionization energy. Important thing is both of the atoms should be there to the gas state, right? After removing electrons, it becomes to the ion. So you know that whether the extra point, after removing or gaining of electron in certain elements, it become ions. You know that it become ions. Removing electrons, they become positive ions. Gaining electrons, they become negative ions. So how to happen this one? In every element's neutral state, you know that protons are equal to the electrons. No? That means the subatomic particle equal. Protons having positively charged, electrons having negatively charged. Proton and electron same mean, proton and electrons are same mean this atom electrically neutral. Got it idea? This atom we call it as a electrically neutral, right? We call it as a electrically neutral atom, right? But think about that. After removing one of the electrons of in a certain species, right? We imagine that whether it's removing one electrons, then the number of protons is higher than to the number of electrons. That's why it become positive ion. And think about that in certain elements taken one electrons to their valence shells, right? Then in that situation, you know that whether number of electrons is less than to the higher than to the number of proton. In that situation, it's become to the negative ion, right? According to this thing, there are two type of ion, positive ion and negative ion. You want to understand this thing, right? Anyway, let's come to our lesson. The question, what the question is, yes, we are the right? Up here, class next question එක බලන්න. Which elements of the above has the highest first ionization energy? You can see that whether there is a graph, right? This graph, you can see that the axis of the graph, the axis is represent that the y-axis first ionization energy, and the x-axis represent the atomic number, right? Atomic number, right? You can get the idea about that, how to change the first ionization energy. Here the first ionization is, you can see that, right? The first ionization energy values is A less than to the B less than to the C less than to the D. And then the first ionization energy values is totally, right? E is less than to the A, B, C, D, and then F, and then G. So you can get the idea about that. First ionization energy values gradually increase and drastically drop and again increase. Got the idea? So what can be, right? So what do you think about that? What is the reason for these differences of first ionization energy? When we given the answer like this question, the important thing is we want to understand the graph, right? We should have the knowledge to how to read that graph, right? Here the first ionization energy variation is given, but the thing is, you can see that whether there are large differences of the first ionization energy. Why? In these two, A, B, C, D and E, F, G, when we consider that element, A, B, C, D is belong to the one of the period of the periodic table, and E, F, G is belong to the another period of the periodic table. So A, B, C, D are the elements belong to above the period of the periodic table, and E, F, G are the below. That means consider that whether, let's think about these kind of elements belong to the second period now, E, F, G belong to the third period. අන්න ඒකයි කතාව. ඒ විදිහට ඒක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ. right? එහෙමයි කිව්වේ. එතකොට මෙයා first නම් මෙයා second වගේ කතාවක් එතන explain කරේ. right? okay. right. එතකොට අපි ගමු which elements form from the has highest first ionization energy. Here you can see that what is it? Element D. It's the element D. It's the element D. Here show that the element D. Second one, state two element belong to the third period and write their true symbol. State two elements belong to the third period and write their true symbol. So how do we find that? Come to the question again. A rough diagram of graph that denoting the first ionization energy of few consecutive elements belong the second and third period of periodic tables are given. So these set of the element should be the second period, and here should be third period. චූටි දෙයක් අහගන්න අද පැයයි ක්ලාස් එක කරන්න ඉන්නේ important يعني අත්‍යවශ්‍ය වැඩක් නිසා right එතකොට අද පන්තිය 9 වෙනකොට මම අද නවත්තනවා right අද පැයක session එකක් නමුත් පැයක් කියලා හිතන්න එපා important theory part එකක් chemistry වල discuss කරනවා අපි වැඩේ කරගෙන යමු right as usual right එතකොට state the elements below the third period and write their symbols what are the elements EFG 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 right එතකොට state the elements කියලා අහනවනේ E කියන්නේ කවුද අහන්නේ state two elements belong to third period E mean questioning අහන්නේ sodium right ඒ කියන්නේ third period elements අහන්නේ නේ sodium F mean magnesium G mean sodium magnesium aluminium likewise write the electronic configuration of E mean now is you know right sodium atomic number what is it 11 එහෙනම් අපිට ලියන්න පුළුවන් 2,8,1 2,8,1 build up the chemical formula of the compound formed by reaction between E and oxygen පුතේ E mean actually sodium right E means sodium but your answer should be right with the formula of the compound with E එක්ක තමයි ලියන්න ඕනේ E belong to the first group එහෙනම් එයාගේ valence share කීයද it should be 1 මේ E belong to the first group their valence should be 1 valency of the oxygen is you know that it's a 2 so after changing the valency it's come E2O what is it it's come E2O right we call it as a E2O right we call it as a E2O right next again when expressing the atomic mass value right I will clear that right when expressing the atomic mass value of 1/12 the mass of C12 6 isotope is used how about the value is called how about the value is called yes how about the value is called so what do we call this value right when expressing atomic mass value of 1/12 the mass of C12 6 isotopes right 1/12 the atomic mass value of the 1/12 the C12 6 isotopes what do we call yes what is it we call it as a right atomic mass unit neither it we call it as a atomic mass unit we call it as a atomic mass unit මෙයාට අපි කියනවා atomic mass unit එක කියලා right define what is relative atomic mass of an element so how do we define that there are various methods right we can use to define it what do you mean by atomic mass unit atomic mass unit how do we define that atomic mass unit right we can say it as a how many times what is it how many times right how many times as atom of a given element weigh much as a 1/12 the C12 6 isotopes how many times as an atom of given element weigh much as a 1/12 of the C12 6 isotopes relative atomic mass of element right asking about definition of the relative atomic mass right atomic mass unit is right we know that what is it mass of C12 6 atom divided by 12 make any මෙතන ප්‍රශ්නේ අහන්නේ relative atomic mass relative atomic mass relative atomic mass කියන්නේ මොකක්ද what is it how many times as an atom of a given element weigh much as a 1/12 the mass of C12 6 atom mass of C12 6 atom we call it as an atomic mass relative atomic mass. Right Come to the next question. The mass of the chlorine atom is 5.903 into 10 to the power minus 23 gram, right? Value of the atomic mass unit is 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 24. Find the relative atomic mass of chlorine. How do you find that? Relative atomic mass of chlorine equal mass of chlorine atom. Actually, true mass of chlorine atom divided by atomic mass unit. Right? Okay, තමයි කතාව. එතකොට mass of chlorine atom mean 5.903 into 10 to the power minus 23 gram divided by atomic mass unit is 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 24 gram. Then you can simplify here, right? You can simplify here. Then your answer should be 35.5. So what is the unit, students? What is the unit? Is there any unit here? Yes, no. No unit for the relative atomic mass. Understand well. No unit for the relative atomic mass. In the next question, what is the next question? Calculate the number of moles that contain 24 gram of carbon. 24 gram of carbon. Right? So how do we find that? Right? Make on nanny. Already I cleared it, right? Or in that in on right, next one. Calculate the number of moles that contain 24 gram of carbon. You know that whether relative atomic mass of carbon equal to it, right? Again, so you know that molar mass of carbon, we called it as a, not the, let's take it as a molar mass of carbon. (12 grams per mole), right? So we can find the moles of carbon in how many mass? 24 grams in two ways. The one way is you can use this formula. What is it? Moles equal mass over molar mass. We can use moles equal mass over molar mass. So mass is given 24 gram. Molar mass is 12 grams per mole, right? So then the final answer you can take here 1, here 2, 2 mole. Final answer you can take it as a 2 mole, right? Another method, what is the definition of the molar mass? The definition of the molar mass is the mass of a 1 mole. What is it? Mass of a 1 mole. And we can write mass of a mole of carbon equal 12 grams, right? Mass of a 1 mole. Right? We can write it opposite thing, right? We can write oppositely here. what is it? Number of moles in, right? We mass of a 1 moles of carbon 12 gram and a number of moles in 12 gram of carbon. We can write likewise. Neither. Number of C moles in 12 gram. It's a 1 mole. Therefore, number of carbon moles in how many? 24 grams. In 12 grams, having 1 moles, then 24 grams having, what is it? How many amount? 2 moles. 2 moles. Right? 2 moles. 1 moles having in 12 grams, then how many in 24 grams? It should be multiplied by 2. 2 times the 2 moles. When you take the 12 grams, it's having 1 mole, then how many in 24 grams? So grams to grams cancel. Here 1, here 2, then final answer become 2 mole. Maybe there had enough pull, right? Any method you can use. Right? Okay. Is there anything else? Quickly write it. Right? This kind of question is coming for your second term exam. There's a most chance. Right? Here is the new tute in our theory class. Right? The world of life. පාඩ මුල් සති දෙක ඇතුළේ ඉවර කරනවා ළමයි. ඉවර කරලා අපි theory ටික ඉවර වෙනවා ඕගොල්ලෝගේ. term test එක පටන් ගන්නවා. second term related. මේ class එක ඇතුළේ paper discussion එක දිගටම යනවා. අපි revision පටන් ගමු ඊට පස්සේ. Okay, all right. In a question number C, information of some elements are given below. They are not true symbols. They are not true symbols. I will open the paper. Information of some elements are given below. They are not true symbol. You can see that element A, B, C, D, and their atomic number. The atomic number of A is 6. Number of protons is also 6. Mass number is 12. B, atomic number 6. Number of protons 6. Mass number 14. C, atomic number 8. Number of proton 8. Mass number 16. D, atomic number 16. Number of proton 16, mass number 32. What is the number of neutrons in atom of element B? So what is it? Asking about what is the number of neutrons in an atom of element B. Here is the element B, right? You can see that atomic number is 6, number of proton is 6, mass number is 14. So what do you mean by mass number? What do you mean by mass number? Mass number mean number of proton plus neutron. Number of proton plus neutron. So in the element B, mass number is given it 14 is equal, right? The atomic number is 16, number of proton 6 plus n. So n equal 14 minus 6. You can take the neutrons. How many neutrons have we? How many neutrons? 8 neutrons. It having 8 neutrons. So define the isotopes. Right? Is it okay? No? Define the isotopes. So what do you mean by isotopes, Lamai? What do you think about that? The isotopes mean? Yes. The isotopes mean same element with different mass number instances. We call it as an isotope. What is it? We call it as an isotope is same element. Remember that same element with different mass number. Same element with different mass number, we call it as isotopes. Example, chlorine 35, 17. Chlorine 37, 17. Did you see that? The same element, but mass number are different. So what is the reason? The reason for that the different mass number is having different amount of neutrons in here, right? When we consider the subatomic particles, proton are 17, electron are 17, both of them, but you can see that with the neutrons are not same. Neutrons here 35 minus 17, you can take the neutrons. Here 37 minus 17, you can see that with the number of neutrons. The another isotopes you want to remember in your syllabus, there are 3 isotopes of hydrogen. What do we call? Protium H11, deuterium, tritium. The isotopes of the hydrogen. Very important, right? Remember very carefully. You want to remember this very carefully. Isotopes of the, what is it? Hydrogen. Is it okay? Right? So what do you mean by now isotopes? The same element with different mass number instances. We call it as an isotopes, right? What is it? Same element with different mass number instances. We call it as isotopes. Hari, okay. The next one. Mention the pair of isotopes above. Methana tina isotopes. So come to the question. Now you come to the question. Define the isotopes. Yes, we have defined. Mention the pair of isotopes. Mention the pair of isotopes from the above. Look at this one. The isotope, same element with different mass number. So how do we decided that with the same element? Look at this one. Number of proton and atomic numbers are the same. Right? Kaude. Kim balanna I mean. Atomic number 6, but mass number differ. Got it idea? In A and B. A and B. We can take it as a and B. A and B. Mention the pair of isotopes from above. Harini, ekkalan. Mention the pair of isotopes. Ekama prashne dipanati. Same question. Draw the Lewis structure of the compound which consists A and C. A ge C ge Lewis structure ka dena. Kauda lamai A kiyanne? A mean the elements atomic number 6. A mean element with atomic number 6. C mean element atomic number 8. Kauda me A mean. What do you mean by A lamai? A mean actually carbon ne. 8 කියන්නේ කවුද? atomic number 8 element එක. It's an oxygen නේ. මෙතනින් පෙන්නන්නේ oxygen. හරි. You can get the idea about that after writing the electronic configuration in A having 4 electrons of their valency shells, in C having 2,6. 6 electrons of their valency shells. Now we can draw that Lewis structure. It's a A and it's a C. For B is stable, it's needed to how many electrons? 4 more electrons needed. And with both of them are making bond likewise, total electron share. No? Right? After given the 2 electrons, it should be having 2 pair of electrons of the element C in the valence shell. Maybe here should be the Lewis structure. Make a Lewis structure. Right? Then make a pattern over again. Api mehema dimu mebala. Right? Imagine that whether like api metani standard symbol nemeni dila tiyenne. What do you mean by we want to draw that A and C? Api dannawa A kiyanne carbon, C kiyanne oxygen. Ehena me CO2 wala Lewis structure එක අඳින්න කියනවා. මේගොල්ලෝ අමතක කරලා CO standard symbol වලින් අඳි. Standard symbol. Right? Valence electrons of the carbon is 4. Right? Oxygen is having how many electrons having in the valence electrons of the oxygen? In carbon, let's write electronic configuration, then it come to the 4, then 4 electrons having. Right? And oxygen got 2,6 electrons having. Right? With the 4 electrons of the dot cross first of all, right? 4 electrons of the carbon right, 4 electrons of the carbon share the another 4 electrons of the nearest adjacent oxygen atom likewise. Again, in 2 electrons of the carbon, right, sharing the with 2 electrons of the adjacent 1 oxygen atom, and another 2 electrons of the carbon sharing with adjacent another 2 electrons of the oxygen atom. But we know that electronic configuration of the oxygen is 2,6 and the valence shells are in 6 electrons. That means after given the 2 electrons to make the bond with one and with the 2 electrons of the carbon, it should be remaining 2 electrons, 2 pair of electrons of what are they? Oxygen likewise. Here is the dot cross diagram. Using this one, here's the dot cross. So using this dot cross diagrams, we can represent the Lewis structure. The bond pairs we can represent by small dash and here. Hari? පැහැදිලිද? got it idea. මේ විදිහට එනවා. එහෙනම් අපි මේක substitute කරමු. C mean which one? A නේ. හා ඔන්න A bond C mean O. එහෙනම් C. ඔක තමයි structure. ඒකට මේ දීලා තියෙන symbols වලින් තමයි අපි අඳින්නේ. ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මෙහෙම ඇඳත් වැරදි දාන්නේ නැහැ. but මේ විදිහට තමයි most correct method of discussion. Draw the Lewis structure of the compound consists of A and C. And if you want to write anything else, quickly copy down. Okay, right, good. Now let's go to the biology question. Biology because today we have to stop that class at night. Right, next week as usually, right, the class is going on our same time, right? That means 8 to 1:30, the class is going on. Is there any question here? Screen එක පේන්නේ නැද්ද? පේනවනේ? Is there any issues in the screen? නෑ නේද? පේනවනේ? Okay, next question. Come to the next question. A biology part I'm going to discuss with you. All organisms need energy for their metabolism. The respiration which is important, characteristic of life is series of biochemical reaction necessary for producing energy. You can see that this setup is very important, right? Most of the time, right here is important to, right, in this part is useful to make the question, right? Make a theory එක මතකනේ. right, අපි theory class එක කතා කරා මෙතනින් question හැදෙනවා. Right here, what is the cellular respiration? Asking about that, what is the cellular respiration? So what do you mean by cellular respiration mean? Yes, Sinura, what do you think? The cellular respiration is, we can say it as, what is it? The process of producing energy, right, by oxidation of glucose inside the living cells. The process of producing energy, right? The important point should be there, your answer, right? What is it? Process of producing energy by oxidation of glucose inside the living cell. By oxidation of glucose, where inside the living cells is we call cellular respiration. Is we call cellular respiration. Hari, next one. Come to the next one. Come to the next question. The above bottles are provided to you state in sequence of the way arranging this bottle is prepared a setup to show release the carbon dioxide during the respiration. The above bottles are provided to state in sequence of the way that arranging the bottles to prepare the setup of show release the carbon dioxide during the respiration. So what is it? What is the sequence? What do you think about that? The sequence. Here is having KOH solution. Here is having lime water, the water, and D is also there to the lime water. From. So what is the method? Firstly, here we are taking the gases from the atmosphere. So then, firstly we want to arrange the B, and after that, right, after that it should be come to the where? A. Here coming to the gases to here. From if then you when you know that whether when it is come to the atmospheric air, carbon dioxide gas is also enter here, and the carbon dioxide gases having in the atmosphere is absorbed to the KOH solution. After that, right after this KOH, after the carbon dioxide gases, after the carbon dioxide gases in the atmosphere absorbed by the potassium hydroxide. So that we can confirm by using the bottle A. Why? After we connecting the bottle A to the setup, after we connecting the bottle A, right, when the gases are passing through the bottle A pute, if they are to the carbon dioxide, what happened? The lime water turns to milky color, right? So during this experiment, we can see that whether there is no any color change in the lime water in the bottle A. Why? Because there's all the carbon dioxide coming from the atmosphere into the bottle B absorbed by the potassium hydroxide solution. Right? Got it? Understand? Right? Got it? The idea. So then, right? So next step, firstly B and A. After that, should be connect the D. Not the D, wrong. E, right? E should be E. Not D, it E. That means frog. We want to put the frog. You can make up use karane respiration study during the respiration CO2 produce observe karan. BAE. Right after that, BAE, then D. Why? Then E. D. So after connected to the bottle D to the bottle E, you know that the frog is a living organisms and they can do the respiration, right? Then during the respiration, in expiration, release the carbon dioxide gas. This carbon dioxide is coming to the bottle E and here bottle D, and here coming to the here having the lime water, and this lime water turn to milky color, and then after which bottle? Bottle E. Bottle E is there to the tap. It's a suction tap. When after opening here, all the gases from bottle A to E is continuously flowing each of there. Right? Make oil water connect oil may odeka men mehම change කරගන්නත් පුළුවන්. Right? What is it? B P D E A E. පරිදනානේ මට කොහර වැදිලා තියෙනවා. B A E D here not E C, right? මෙතෙන්ට C කියලා එන්නේ. එතකොට මෙතන B D change වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේකේ letters දෙකක් මාරු වෙන්න එච්චරයි. හරි. ලොකු වෙනසක් නැහැ. B D E A C කියලා වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. කියන්නේ මෙතන ඉන්න A අතෙන්ට යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ විදිහට වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. කියන්නේ lime water දෙක විතරක් change. That's the only thing happen. Name the suitable substances instead of the frog. Frog වෙනකොට මොකක්ද අපිට use කරන්න පුළුවන්? we can use the germinating seeds, right? Germinating mung seeds, right? We can use. Got that? Lawn bean seeds, right? We can use that. Question number 4 here. What is the benefit to use the potassium hydroxide solution? Why? The potassium hydroxide function is absorb the carbon dioxide gas. What is the function? Absorb the carbon dioxide gas. Carbon dioxide gas can absorb. Carbon dioxide, absorb carbon dioxide in air inside the vessel. Absorb carbon dioxide in air inside the vessel. Right? The lime water in one bottle turn to milky. When do the activity state? State the reason for that. The lime water in one bottle. We know that with only the one bottle. Right? The lime water in A is not milky color after we connected to the bottle B to the A. So what is the reason that? The reason that whether here only the bottles that connected to the bottle E, the lime water bottles that connected to E should be become to the milky color, because that, right, during the respiration, right, because that during the which one? The release of carbon dioxide during the respiration enter to the vessel. Release carbon dioxide during respiration. Release carbon dioxide during respiration. Release carbon dioxide during respiration is entered to the vessel. Is entered to the vessel. Right? Okay. Producing food by organisms themselves is autotrophic nutrition. There are two categorized autotrophs. Name them. Right? The organisms that they can produce their own foods, we can call it as an autotroph. But autotrophs organisms also, Dharwani, we can divide it into main two groups. What do we call? There are main two groups. One is we call it as a photoautotrophics. And another one we called as a chemoautotrophs. So what do you mean by photoautotrophs? Photoautotrophs is, as an energy source, they use the sunlight. Chemoautotrophs mean as an energy source, they use chemical energy. They use chemical energy. We call it as a photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. That's the difference. Right? Here is the thing. What is the next question? Write the word equation of photosynthesis process. Word equation. Easy lamai. Carbon dioxide. Make a punchi kali nan liye ekak. Carbon dioxide react with water under the condition sunlight and chlorophyll produce glucose and oxygen. Produce glucose and oxygen. Given below are the classification of STEM introduced by the Carl Walls in 1990. State two benefits that we can obtain classification of organisms. Right? So next lessons we have to discuss actually what are the importance that should be having to classification of organisms. One of the thing is, what is it? Easy to study about the organism. So organisms classification is very important. Why? We can easily identify. So you know that whether these days in our country is having the dengue outbreak. Right? So what are the name of the vectors that are responsible to carry the dengue? It's a mosquito. All the mosquito? No, there is a specific species of the mosquito. Aedes mosquito. We call it as a Aedes. Aedes aegypti, Aedes albopictus. So how do we say that? How do we know that whether there's a specific? Right? So we are not saying that every mosquito can transmit that virus. Cannot say that, cannot transmit every mosquito. I mean, specific. So you know that whether to study the organisms, right? So due to the classification of organisms, very easy study for controlling of that mosquito in that period. So that is the one of the uses of the classification. Question is asked that state the benefit that we can obtain classification of organisms. One is easy to study about the organism, right? එකක් තමයි ලේසියෙන් study කරන්න පුළුවන්. Another one තමයි, what is it? Ability to reveal the relationships between the different organisms, right? Having the different kind of groups of organisms. So we can find that whether, what are they? The relationships that having in between the organism. Got it idea? In between the organism. Got it idea? And we can useful, this is to identify economical advantage organisms also. Economical advantage organism. Right. Here the thing. Then come to the question. Name A, B, C, D belong the domain eukarya according to the diagrams. A කියන්නේ මොකක්ද ළමයි? Bacteria, archaea. It's a eukarya. Eukarya will A mean, yes, fungi, protista, plant, animalia. A, B, C, D we can categorize into domain eukarya. We can categorize. What are they? What are they? Kingdom fungi, kingdom protista, kingdom plant, kingdom animalia. Right? Let's discuss about that. Domain. Right? We call it domain. Okay, then name the group separated from that the plant and animal belongs. Right? Plants is kingdom Plantae, animals belong to kingdom Animalia. Plants belong to kingdom Plantae, animal belong to kingdom Animalia. Here is the thing. Hari? Name the group separated from the above array. What is the kingdom which live in sea water below the domain eukarya that contribute mostly to maintain the balanced oxygen and carbon dioxide? Give example. What is it? Kingdom Protista having specific organisms, algae, right? Algae. The algae is actually, it's very useful to production of, what are they? State the one useful or harmful effects of bacterial activity of the human. Algae is very important, right? Algae is also large kind of algae, like a different kind of algae is there. So that is very important. So production of the water, again, primary production, producer with the attack kernel algae. Kingdom Protista. Question number 5. State useful and harmful effects of bacterial activity in human. Useful effects, bacteria, we can use different kind of industry. Production of yogurt, production of curd, production of cheese, producing medicine, right? Likewise, vaccine. Harmful effects, what are they? Giving disease to the human and food spoilage, destroy the economical important things. Likewise, so many things, right? Causing disease to the human and other organisms important to of the human. We can write it. Okay, right. Here we have discussed already two essay question, right? We have discussed 2 essay question, and we have remaining 3 more question, and I will discuss these questions in the next day with you and share in the new paper also. So you want to complete that paper, let's will discuss the next day. Right, today I am going to stop that class, and the next Friday, right, we will continue this class in the same time in 8 to 10 p.m. So then, student, is there any question for asking? Is it okay? As usually, our theory class is in this week continue in our usual timetable, right? So get ready for that class also, right? And you want to get ready for your second term exam, study well this day. Right, okay, then let's stop the student class now. See you the next day. Good night to all. I won.